Today we're answering the 10 most common e-bike questions that we get at HPC.
How far can an e-bike go on a single charge?
Most e-bikes on the market are going to go somewhere between 20 and 30 miles, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The most important factor in your range is the kilowatt hours of your battery system.
Not even that, it's also the weight of the rider, what terrain they're going on, if they're going on hills. Yeah, so say you had a 52 volt, roughly 20 amp hour battery, we would classify that as roughly a 50 mile range battery. And that's considering you're about 160, 170 pounds and you're totally on flat ground and no pedal assist, just throttle and keeping that speed up at 20 miles an hour.
One thing that's hard for people to grasp is a lot of these pedal assist bikes on the market, they're going to quote 80, 90 mile range, but there's no way to quantify how hard you're actually pedaling on the inputs when you're pedaling, because you can pedal a little bit, you can pedal hard, and your range is going to increase substantially. So when we test with throttle only, no rider pedal input, and see how far we can go.
What's the difference between pedal assist and throttle controlled e-bikes?
So pedal assist,
No, stop, I got it.
No,
I got it.
No,
Yes.
you can answer what throttle is.
Okay.
So it's pretty self-explanatory, but in pedal assist you have two different kinds. You have the cadence based, which is simply just the motor and controller calculating the speed at which you pedal, which is not going to give you the best overall experience. And you have torque based, which calculates how much input the rider is putting into the system and will give a percentage of power on top of that.
So throttle, basically you can have bikes that have throttle only, that you give as much or as little throttle input as you want. You can have a twist throttle or a thumb throttle, and it basically takes over and you don't have to use the pedals at all to engage the motor. On our bikes, all of our bikes, even the pedal assist bikes, the torque-based pedal assist bikes, they're gonna have throttle in addition to torque sensing pedal assist, so you have both. So you can take over with throttle and you don't have to pedal, and you can kind of ride it like a little mini motorbike if you wanted to, or you could use the torque-based pedal assist. So you have the best of both worlds the way we do it.
How much does an e-bike cost?
A lot of e-bikes you're going to see on the market, you might see e-bikes as cheap as $1,000 or $2,000, but you have to understand
Even less, some of them.
You have to understand that the quality is going to be lacking at that price point, and most of the bikes and most of the people that we compete against on the market are going to be white label, meaning that they didn't engineer, develop, design the bike. They basically put their name on an existing bike, generally from large factories in China and overseas. But I would say, good e-bikes you can start getting some good e-bikes in the $3,000 plus range.
So the main thing you want to do when you're shopping for e-bike is check out the components. So ask the manufacturer for a spec sheet, and you want to go down that component list and see what they're actually using. So for us, we only spec higher end quality components, from down to the spokes, down to the rims, everything. So you just want to make sure that if you're shopping for $1,000, $2,000 e-bike, that they're using quality components, because there's more likely than not you're going to have to replace a lot of those components down the line.
For us in particular, the starting price point is our Black Lightning. It's $3,795. It's a pretty fast, fun bike, but for us, that's basically the starting point.
Can I ride an e-bike in bike lanes?
So that's a good question too.
So, it depends on the local laws and jurisdictions of your area, but most bikes that we get out of here are class 2 or class 1. So you are allowed, as long as the law says you can do it, allowed on most streets and where bicycles can go, because a lot of places are still either classed as electric bicycles, class 1 or 2, or since they're class 1 or class 2, a lot of them might even be classified as a traditional bicycle. So you might be allowed where traditional bicycles go.
Am I allowed to ride an e-bike on trails?
So in California, I know a lot of the state parks, they don't allow any kind of e-bikes, but a lot of the federal ones actually do. So you just got to know before you go if it's allowed or not.
I like that catchphrase.
Know
before you go.
How long does it take to charge an e-bike battery?
So this is a very common question, and that is all dependent on A, your battery size, and B, how many amps your charger is. So most e-bikes that I see on the market are coming with about roughly a 2 amp charger, and most batteries are roughly 10 amp hours. So if you do that math, 10 divided by 2, that will give you 5 hours of charge time. So we actually offer different chargers, different power levels, and different battery size. We have a 2.5 amp charger, a 4 amp charger, a 6 amp charger, and up to a 10 amp charger. So they're pretty fast. No.
I don't have anything to add. For example, with our Revolution XX battery, 28 amp hour battery, you're gonna be able to charge that in roughly under 3 hours with the fastest 10 amp charger that we just introduced.
How do I maintain and service an e-bike?
So firstly, you want to start calling around to local bike shops or local dealers that sell electric bikes and see who's friendly towards e-bikes. If they're friendly towards e-bikes, then they'll be able to be your point of service and repair. And I would say about half the shops we tend to call are open to the idea, especially in particular with us. If we can help them walk through things, then they're more open to be working with our e-bikes in particular.
So when it comes to maintenance, mid-drive bikes will definitely be a little more because you have the chain, derailleur, and you just got a lot more moving parts on that mid-drive motor. So it's important to check your chain wear, and have your derailleur adjusted so it's shifting properly.
And a lot of times on hub motor e-bikes, it's going to be, especially the gearless hubs, those are going to be the most maintenance free. Yep. Those are going to be worry free, reliable for years to come because there's basically no moving parts. You're going to have a set of magnets and the outer shell is going to rotate around them. So it's going to be as reliable as possible and simple.
And if you're local, Southern California, and you have one of our e-bikes, we always recommend coming here because we can give your bike the most TLC and get it feeling new again. So,
how heavy is an e-bike?
So that's a pretty controversial question. We get a lot. So a lot of people think e-bikes should weigh the same as normal bikes, but that is not the case at all because you got the battery, you got the motor, you got a little heavier components to keep up with the extra power and speed.
Stronger, more robust frame. It's gonna be heavier too.
Yeah. So for the most part, they have lightweight e-bikes that weigh somewhere in the high 30s. You got e-bikes that mid-range, I'd say, is high 40s, low 50s.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not.
Yes, they
they're
are.
mid 50s.
Mid 50s, like low to mid 50s
Low?
for the brand names. Because like the last that we had that was quoted 46.5 pounds was 50 pounds.
Okay, they don't measure with pedals.
It's controversial.
Yeah, it's controversial. Yeah, it's bad. So back to the question. You got the low 50s, low to mid 50s. That's the mid range, which a lot of the big brands with the bigger batteries, that's what they weigh roughly. And then a lot of the lower end brands, I'm not going to mention any names, but those are we've weighed them 70 to 80 pounds. Some of those mid-drive bikes we weighed were,
They shall not be named.
yeah, 90 pounds. Yeah. So
That's surprising.
yeah. So 90 pounds is as heavy as our fully loaded Revolution with the biggest battery and 8,000 watt motor kit. So
Our lightest weight bike right now is the Trailblazer, and we are going to be introducing a new motor soon that's going to bring the weight down, starting around like 49.8 pounds. So
under that.
We're excited to
with
get
one
down
battery.
in the 49-pound range on the Trailblazer, so it's going to be fun.
So the Scout, roughly mid 50s. Titan, mid 50s, depending on how you outfit it. Black Lightning, low 50s, depending on how you outfit it. So our bikes, we tend to try to, we're trying to have the lightest weight, most powerful bike with the best components, which not the low-end brands will do the opposite. They'll just have the heavier components and the bikes will weigh a lot more. So it just depends on what you want.
Are e-bikes suitable for uphill riding?
In short, no.
Down to the mic. To be quite frank, not really.
Okay, let me answer. So, you should leave that in and be like, what the freak? Why would I even buy an electric bike? Why would I even buy an electric bike? So, yes, e-bikes are suitable for uphill riding, and mid-drives in particular are really good for uphill riding because they
Off-road
use...
Off-road mainly.
Yeah, well, and on road too, but they use the gearing, so you can multiply the gearing just like your legs feel, and the motor runs through the gears, and it has the gearing multiple that allows it to climb really steep grades, although at lower speeds. Hub motors are really good too, especially on road, but you got to have some power behind it. So to climb hills with a hub motor, you generally are going to want 2,000 watts or above. For mid drives, you can get away with a lot lower power levels, but that's the gist of it.
How fast can an e-bike go?
So most e-bikes are classified as class 1, class 2, and class 3. So most of the bikes that we actually sell are going to be shipped as class 1 or class 2. So class 1 is 20 miles an hour, 750 watts, pedal assist only. Class 2 is 20 miles an hour, 750 watts with a throttle. Class 3 is pedal assist only, up to 28 miles an hour and 750 watts.
So most of our bikes get shipped as class 2, so they do have throttle and they're limited to 20 miles an hour at 750 watts. But for those of you with private property and off-road, you can unlock it. We have
Or
a lot
OHV too. A lot of people do OHV.
Some of our faster bikes can go up to 60 miles per hour, like the Revolution. But most of our bikes probably average 30 or 40 once you unlock it, if you're on private property and it's legal to do so.
Makes sense.
Next. Thanks for watching our video on the 10 most frequently asked e-bike questions, and we hope that we gave you some valuable information.
And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask us, and we can do more videos and answer all these questions we get every day.